This is a beautiful book, Grimlaicus, Rule for Solitaries, and it comes from the 9th century on rule for hermits. So there we go, 10th century, 900. The monk Grimlaicus wrote a rule for those who, like himself, pursued the solitary life. So this would be your kind of build on, your bolt on from the rule of Saint Benedict. Of course, Benedict had intended for the Cenobitic life to be a stepping stone for beginners. So here we read this from the rule of Saint Benedict: hermits, having learned in association with many brethren how to fight against the devil, go out well armed from the ranks of the community to the solitary combat of the desert. Um, so that was the plan, Stan. Of course, just as we said with the rule of Benedict yesterday, that this was intended as a rule for beginners and some hardcore, great big, for ultra monks. No, it's intended as a gentle and doable rule for all who would put God first and seek God before all things, principally, of course, in the monastic life, but also all visitors to a monastery are treated as Christ himself and are to be treated almost as fellow monks. And then, of course, expected to fall in with the rhythm and the rules of the monastery. And that's why so much of these rules can be applied in our own daily lives. Now, this rule is very interesting. Um, and it had me in snorts of laughter in the monastery bookshop as I read about it. It talks about how beards are to be kept short for modesty's sake, because a lot of monks, and remember, this is in Orthodox, so-called Orthodox Christianity before the schism, and Grimlaicus is saying, keep your beards short, because some people are getting ostentatious with the old beards and showing off. And just as the Lord commanded us to go into our rooms and pray, and to not let our left hand know what our right hand is doing, etc. Well, similarly, parading long beards as a sign of holiness is out for us. And he says, look, if length of beard made you holy, if holiness was in the beard, then the billy goats would be the most holy of all creatures, which I thought was hilarious. Because I've had this conversation with some Protestants, actually, when I've told them about holy monks, etc., and they've said to me, right, shave the beard, stick him in jeans and a t-shirt, put him working at Tesco's, filling the shelves, and who's batting an eyelid? And to some extent, look, there is a wee bit of that. Holiness is, of course, we all know, internal. So I'm not wishing to poke holes in anyone's holiness, if you pardon the pun, but I am wishing to say that it's not about the length of beard, whether you shave your beard or whether you grow it. And I don't think anyone in their right mind would seriously think it is. In the West, monks tended to have, short hair, shaved beards, although there was scope in a lot of monasteries, and there still is. If you want to grow a beard, go for it, but there's no badge of honor or expectation behind it. In the East, I think it's more prescribed. You have to grow your beard. And I think that even extends to parish priests to an extent. Now, there's all kinds of beautiful chapters in this. I've had this book before, and I actually returned it to the monastery because I wanted to get another book and couldn't afford it. And this is exactly the same book because it's got some of my writing I hadn't realized I'd wrote in the inside cover. So it's came back to me. I will make other videos on it because it's very rich indeed. And as I say, it's very theological. So and will serve for both those with a great interest in Eastern Orthodoxy as well as Western Christian spirituality, Catholic spirituality. So, chapter 32: how can somebody pray without ceasing? For anyone Uh, we all know that this is central to Eastern Orthodox monasticism, especially the Eastern Christians. How can you pray without ceasing? We have the great Russian pilgrim, etc., and the Pilgrim's Way, etc. This searching for hesychasm and incessant prayer going on within the heart. It's very interesting that here in in this very early 10th century, 900s, Grimlaicus is saying, look, this is how we do it. And he's talking to a conference of fathers. They're addressing the question, 1 Thessalonians 5:17, pray without ceasing. How can we fulfill that? And here he has from one of the conferences of the Desert Fathers. An elder basically has a simple job of weaving baskets from palm leaves. And while he's doing it, he's chanting verse 1 from Psalm 50. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your great compassion, and according to the multitude of your mercies, erase my iniquity. Beautiful prayer. And then he says, this is prayer, isn't it? Okay. Then he takes his ware, he sells it at the market. I earn 6 coins, more or less. 2 of them I give to the poor outside the gate, and the rest I spend for my needs and those of my disciples. But the one who took those 2 denarii prays on my behalf while I am eating or sleeping. And this is the way that by God's grace, what is written is fulfilled in me. Pray without interruption. I thought that was beautifully well balanced, as is the commentary here. It's not about simply breaking our head with mystical formulas, trying, vainly to be saying prayers in the subconscious part of our mind. Look, there may be something well in that. I think there is. But at the same time, prayer can never just become something of automatic and repetitive, kind of routine and something that could break our heads with, as we'd all agree, of course. These things need great discernment. But I really like the idea. He goes on to say, we must ceaselessly pray with mouth or heart, or do the kind of work that will pray to God on our behalf. How beautiful is that? We must ceaselessly pray with our mouth or heart, and he's not giving any prescription of how to do this, or do the kind of work that will pray to God on our behalf. So we do the kind of work. If I'm a teacher, then I do it in a prayerful way, and in a merciful way, in a kingdom building way, that somehow this work is praying on my behalf, that maybe the guardian angels of the students will pray on my behalf, that maybe their parents will pray for me, maybe the kids themselves, who knows, will pray for me, at least at some stage in their lives. And this is worthy work. And to do our work, whatever it be, trying to think of other examples. Say I'm working in a supermarket, stocking shelves, that I would be praying for the people that I was filling the shelves for, that were going to benefit from this food. And then in some way that's prayerful work, and it's work that will pray for me. And then if we can live a simple life, to be able to give well to charity, to support our local monastery, our local parish, to support local charities, etc., then the work becomes blessed as well. It's not harmful work, it's wholesome work as best as we can, and it's work done prayerfully, again, as best as we can, and it's work that leads to prayer. It's for prayer. Yeah, I think I make my point. Rules for solitaries from Grimlaicus. I'll make a few more videos on this because there's some wonderful themes that really gives an insight of Western orthodoxy. Let's use the language of the Eastern Orthodox. It gives us an understanding of Western Christianity pre-schism. So there's quite a nice introduction on all of that. But here's so you've got a prologue that rather mirrors the prologue of the Rule of Benedict. So you've got the kinds of solitaries as opposed to the kinds of monks in with which Benedict talks of. He's going to talk about monks and solitaries who don't just have to use the things of this world well, but actually renounce them and then live by providence, true riches, the difference between the active life and the contemplative life. I mean, that started to develop perhaps in the Christian West then, because it's not really a feature of Eastern Orthodox monasticism, that distinction. All religious are simply monks to them, although some live in monasteries and some serve in other contexts. But there's more of an emphasis on the distinctions concerning the procedures for receiving, what the cell of the recluse should be like. That'll be interesting. Compunction of heart, beautiful. 2 types of compunction. All empty thoughts are illusions worked by demons. We see that influence of Cassian and the Desert Fathers. The daily manual work of solitaries. The hours at which solitaries ought to take their food. The clothing and footwear. So this is beautiful stuff. Really going to give you an insight into early, medieval Western monasticism pre-schism. Who doesn't want that? That's at all interested in this channel. The various the temptations of dreams, the various temptations of solitaries, thoughts and diabolical illusions. Yeah. Solitaries, after they have been enclosed, must never return to secular life, and concerning perseverance in good works. Great stuff from Grimlaicus. Just while I'm at it, here's another wee book that I'm having a look at today in the monastery. This lady here writes kind of popular level books on St. Teresa of Avila and other, classic Catholic texts, spiritual texts. This one is taken from Jean-Pierre de Caussade, The Self-Abandonment to Divine Providence, which is kind of just made accessible to the lay reader who doesn't have hours to pore over books written in the 1800s or 1800s, I believe. There's a nice little intro. It was the 1700s, okay. But it talks about the sacrament of the present moment, and just being in that present moment, being still in the present moment, in the presence of God. However we do that, whether it's slowly reciting the Our Father, as maybe Teresa of Avila practiced and counsels, whether it's just a gentle awareness, or through the use of a phrase, or however it be, entering into this present moment and knowing that God loves us, that Jesus Christ loves us and he forgives us. And we don't have to be super saints to merit his love, that we don't have to impress so much Jesus as allow him to impress his presence and his heart onto ours. We just have to give him our will in each moment and say, Lord, I receive the gift of your presence here and now. Because as this book points out, if we don't find God in the present, then he's nowhere. If God is not in this present moment, in this present condition, then he's not in the past or the future either. And he's put us in this present moment precisely to make contact with us. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff.